Marketer of the Day, number 451. Visually promote your business using photos, videos, and live streaming with smartphone marketing guru Tabitha Carro. Hey everyone, and thanks for listening. We're talking right now with Tabitha Carro, and she is the smartphone marketing guru, and she taught for 13 years as an elementary school teacher while running her own curriculum design business, and her present passion is exploring how to visually promote businesses through an iPhone. So lots of exciting stuff to talk about. How are things, Tabitha?
Things are going pretty well. I'm very excited to be on your show.
Awesome. I'm excited to have you. And so yeah, creating visual content and stuff like that with your iPhone, what does that mean exactly?
So for me, and based on the business niche that I come from, it's creating typically product photos, but it doesn't have to be product photos, graphic designs, and videos solely from an iPhone.
Okay, great. And I keep hearing more and more that, like, back even a few years ago, if you wanted to get really serious about your photography or your video making, you had to get a $3,000 camera. And the thing I've been hearing over and over now is, well, the latest or even the second latest iPhone is just good enough for what we want to accomplish. So is that true?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, like if you're gonna produce like a commercial for Coca-Cola or something, yeah, you're gonna want that. But for us, individual entrepreneurs, it's fantastic. And I actually started out with a professional Canon camera. I don't even know what it is. It was my husband's, and I had all of that. And it's interesting to see once I crossed over, like what I'm creating now is way better quality than when I was using that equipment because I didn't know what I was doing. And also now just because the cameras are just getting so amazing on these phones as well. But a lot of it is just more like practice, knowledge. Like that's the camera lens or the camera itself is just one part of it all. And honestly, it you have what you need right on your phone now with editing apps and all of that. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it sounds like it, and I agree. And so when you say that the stuff on the phone is better now than what you did on the Canon, you said that, well, the lenses are one part of it, but I mean, what about things like lighting or like being able to crank out a lot of content? Like I imagine those sorts of things have improved too, right?
Oh yeah, there's lots of setups now. They're super simple. It all depends on what you need, obviously, and what you need to film or take photos of. But typically, like for me, I have a Diva ring light. It's one of those makeup artist type lighting stands, and that's pretty much all I use for myself when I'm videoing myself, or I just bend it over a table and I use it as my lighting for products. But natural lighting, I often use that, as long as that's available. It so much just depends on practice and angle. You're not going to be able to just buy a system off of a lighting kit off of Amazon and have great pictures. You also have to take a little bit of time to explore it. So whether you use a camera or a phone, that part doesn't even matter when it comes to, yeah, your environment and just things like that you need to practice and learn a bit about to make your visuals as the best that they can be.
So what's the starting point with all this? Like, do you recommend that people grab one of those ring lights that you mentioned, or just shoot outside if possible so that the lighting's good? Or like, what's just the easiest way for some kind of a newbie to start cranking out some of these videos and pictures?
So a newbie, it also depends on their budget, but I would, in the beginning, if you're just wanting to like just get started and see how it is, window lighting is fantastic. Just make sure that you and the window are kind of parallel and both aiming at. If you're doing like a product shoot, just make sure you and the window are both aiming and hitting your product. And honestly, if the lighting is good with daylight, that's the best you're going to get. Now, if you have some money, you can get a ring light. There's generic ones. The one that I have is the Diva ring light, and I always recommend the Supernova brand model. And that typically, if you get the stand included, it's like $279. But that is just, it's portable. It's really easy to move around the house for someone like me, where I'm like typically doing Facebook Lives in any corner of the house. So it's so great that you can have that lighting source at night, when you're doing any type of video setup as well. So it kind of just depends on what you need, your budget, and what you're starting out as. And if you have the money and you just want something super easy, I definitely recommend the Diva Ring Light, because you can also attach your phone to it. And so that is a bonus, because you have your stability included as well with that stand.
All right, super great. And yeah, I have to admit that I don't have a ring light. I bought one of those like $500 like 3-point lighting kits years ago,
Yes,
and I kind of
I have
like,
one of those.
yeah, and I think one of them fell over, so like I only have 2 lights, and I have like the super bright lights for the purposes of if I'm, say, like Facebook live streaming on the web camera. And then when I do Facebook Lives on the phone, I just kind of do as you're saying, where I just kind of either walk around the house or walk around outside. And I've seen some of these people have either like a green screen or a white screen or some fancy sort of backgrounds. And sometimes I'm sort of jealous of that. Do you play around with any backgrounds or things like that?
I haven't yet, but yeah, it's super tempting, especially the whole green screen thing. I think it would be really cool to be able to insert into the background what you want to. I haven't, because at this point I'm still just overwhelmed just with actually doing the lives. I use Wirecast, and I incorporate, so I have my phone screen up with me and I'm doing tutorials. So that for me is like a challenge enough. But yeah, I see some people like Marie Smith. She's like Facebook guru, and oh my goodness, the quality. I'm like, aren't Facebook Lives maximum can only be 720 pixels HD? And like her, it's got to be like 4K video. It's just so gorgeous. So yeah, it's always like a work in progress that you're like, you see things and you're like wanting to add on. But you just go at your own pace and where you are in your development of video, and embrace that and be fine with it, but always be open to improving as well.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. And I kind of think the same way, in that I'm more of a like, I don't need to get it perfect the first time. I just want to get it done. I just want to crank out some of these videos, crank out some of this
Yes.
content. And then as I get better into it, then I can add on, as you said, with like better and better things. And so when if someone's looking to like put up their first few videos, do you have any recommendations or any kind of prompt? Like you mentioned that sometimes you do tutorials, but would you recommend someone like share a lesson or a story or a tip or something? Or what can someone do if they're just looking to create that first content?
Absolutely. Yeah, you could totally, you could just share your story, where you are in your business. Definitely do tips. That's what I typically do, is I do tutorials. You could also do like unboxing. It just depends on what your niche is, whether you sell makeup, for me, my husband and I actually got on together and we unboxed the iPhone 7 Plus back in the day when that was coming out. Anything that has to do with your niche, people just love that. It's just that curiosity of seeing something opened up, like a present, regardless of what it is. That's super fun. You can do giveaways where, you, even if you have like a tip or something that you're talking about or sharing, you can also have people, they have to comment or share, which may go against Facebook rules, but as long as you just say it within the Facebook Live, I think you can pretty much get away with it. And that also gets you engagement, and then somebody will win a prize that pertains to your niche as well. That's something I've done in the past. Honestly, just think of whatever is visual, whatever is personal. People love to see people. So like I said, I had my husband come on for no other reason than he's more of a tech buff than me. And it just makes it more entertaining when you have more human elements to your Facebook Live as well.
Right, I agree, mixing it up and all that. So I really like the idea of this giveaway thing, and I have to admit I've never done it, but I've seen some people do it, and I've seen the two extremes. I've seen some people saying like, "I'll give away $1,000 or I'll give away a car," and then I've seen on the other end of that spectrum people say like, "Well, I'll give away free access to one of my books or one of my courses," and I'm thinking, well, that's kind of lame. So, do you have any
Yeah.
recommendations on what to give away first of all for this giveaway?
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely say something physical that goes along with your niche. And yeah, the $1,000 a card, that's totally ridiculous because you're going to attract a ton of people that are never going to be your buyer. So for me, with Smartphone Marketing School, I give away usually typically always something that has to do with lighting because that I have a good hunch that that person is needing that for a business. So I have done deeper ring lights. Those are pricier, but my last giveaway, I think I gave away like a selfie ring light that you clip onto your phone, or I've given away a cool phone case. And then I will also give away a membership. And I totally agree with you. Don't just give away something that is pretty much free on your end to give away. It's not technically free, but definitely add something physical in there because people just love to get something, something tangible, even if it's a $10 or $15 item like the selfie ring light. It still motivates people.
Well, cool. And when you decide, like you said, that sometimes you give away just the $15 selfie ring light, or you give away the more higher end one, do you make any kind of decision as far as like how much you want to lose on this contest versus how many comments and likes that you're expecting? Like, do you do any kind of that sort of judgment? Like, you say, well, I really want to take a bigger risk and give away a higher ticket item, or do you just say, that's part of my budget, I'm just going to give away this no matter what the response is?
Yeah, I haven't measured as far as outcome of engagement or followings that I will receive. I do try to look at my email list and how many new email subscribers I might get, but I tend to vary based on if I do an open and closed cart for my enrollment once every quarter. So usually the week before enrollment opens again, I do a bigger one. So that would be with the Diva ring light, or I have this big old bundle of like pieces that you would need to set up your phone for video. And so I typically do that for before something major because I know that the word's going to spread more and bring jog people's memory about me, even my followers who might have forgotten about me, and hopefully they'll notice this and remember again. And then, in between my enrollments, I'll do something smaller. I also, I've used Gleam, this website for my giveaways, and it doesn't matter which platform you use, but I do definitely look at how many people have entered compared to past giveaways. That kind of also gives me an idea of how much interest there is and how much I can expect to get from the upcoming enrollment as well. And that has worked pretty well because like this, I just recently am going through an enrollment, and it's not been as much as the past ones, but it's just a really bad time of the year to try to launch because everybody's already broke with the holiday spending and all of that. And it was interesting because the giveaway was very reflective that it was going to be less momentum than previous enrollments.
Okay, and you mentioned there that you don't, so you actually use a platform for this. You don't just say, well, like and share, and I'll just look at the names. You actually use a system where people have to sign up, and then it chooses a winner based on that.
Right. So for the big giveaways, I'll do smaller fun things on Instagram or whatever where they just comment. But for the bigger ones, I always try to use a platform because I can then host the giveaway at all my social media platforms. I just need that link. So whereas with Instagram, if you're not going to use a platform, you're just going to be able to do your giveaway pretty much on Instagram. Same thing with Facebook. But if you have link, an outside link that people can go to, then you can promote it anywhere and everywhere. And so I like that because then I can, target more of my followers on the whole spectrum. And then obviously the data, I can see what's going on as well.
So what sort of data?
Just basically like how many people have entered, how many entries have been completed. You can also, like when I pick a winner, you can go through their entries and make sure that they really were honest, and that's difficult to do if you don't have that data, if you're just randomly picking somebody and you've told them to do maybe several things, it may be harder to know if they've done that for sure if you're not using a platform to show you that. So, and then once again, if you use the same platform, at least with the one that I've been using lately, Gleam, I can compare to previous giveaways and see how it's performing in comparison. So that's helpful as well.
And that's awesome. So that way you can tell if it's growing or dying, or if you're gonna pass on it this time, or if it's worth it to keep on ramping it up. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
So moving forward, so what should people be doing? Like we said that they should film things on their phone, live stream, make some videos, play around with the ring light, do some contests. What should they be doing as far as like photos? Is that still a thing?
Oh yeah, definitely. For me personally, in my niche, where we have a product, it's product based, photos are really your foundation. And obviously Instagram is still very, photo friendly. So if you're on Instagram, they work great there, but you need photos all the time. You need photos for your, your blog post feature image, for your, if you do Pinterest and so forth. So there's lots of reasons to take great photos. And what I always encourage people are using their phone is you set up a time, a shooting day. This is probably the most boring, not fun part about using your phone, but it's the same with a camera as well, is when you have to actually shoot and prep and all of that. It does take work, but then you have this whole library of photos, and I recommend to everybody to have the Google Photos app installed on your phone. It is unlimited video and photo storage, and you can access on desktop. So that is amazing. So take a bunch of photos. You can edit them, work on them, and then from there you would build and start doing design work with those photos. Like I've already mentioned, I use these photos and then I turn them into my designs for my featured blog post image, my Pinterest image, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And then from there, your database of photos and designs, you can actually, it becomes much more easier to start getting into video marketing when you already have these photos that you can insert and incorporate as well with video clips. And honestly, depending on what you sell or whatever, last night I was up working on some Instagram story ads and some Facebook ads, and I'm using photos that are 2 or 3 years old, but that's just the beauty of your phone. And of course, through Google Photos, I was able to easily access them and download and work with them. That you can just keep repurposing and reusing over and over again these same photos in different ways for new ad campaigns and so forth. So yeah, definitely start with photo, and that will really get you comfortable anyway if you're wanting to get into video.
Well, great. So that's a great tip, to use Google Photos. That way all of our photos, we can just go and grab them and get them wherever, even if they were photos that we took over the course of several years on our phones. And so you mentioned that we should be building this library of stuff, of these cool images, and then use them for all these different purposes, like for the Pinterest and the featured post image and these kinds of things. Do you have a favorite piece of software or app to edit those images, or is that something you outsource, or what's the situation there?
Oh, it's definitely all on the phone. It's really a matter of each person. What apps do you are you most comfortable with. But as far as photo editing, there's an app, A Color Story, that's really great if you're basic and you're like, this is so nerve-wracking, I don't know anything about photography. Then that's a great app because it's more like filters. And then Snapseed is one that I love that's highly recommended. It's actually developed by Google, and professional photographers use it as well. So I may use either of those. You can also, like, if you have an iPhone, and I'm sure it's the same for Android, you can actually touch up your photos within the Photos app itself. And then once you have that, my favorite design apps are Adobe Spark Post. Absolutely love that one. It saves your projects as well. So once you have created a design for Pinterest, let's say, and then, okay, next week you've got a new blog post out. You need to do a new Pinterest image to go with it. You just go to that same design that you've already stylized and customized for your branding. You just duplicate it and switch out the photos, switch out the title, and you're good to go. And it just takes seconds. So I highly recommend that app. It's not available yet for Android, but Design Lab is another project saving app. I highly recommend, especially with design, that you find apps that save your projects so that you can access them and duplicate and reuse them in the future. If not, you're doing everything from scratch, and that's really not working smarter, not harder. It's actually working harder, not smarter. That's what I really prefer. That's probably, if I had to pick one design app, it would be Adobe Spark Post or Design Lab. And then switching from that, then I'm ready for video, which is I do all of that as well using apps on my phone. I could go into it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, sure.
You want me to? Okay. So Square's super big right now. If you're starting out, once again, you're like, this is all intimidating, overwhelming, especially with video, I recommend the Quik app. It's Quik. You really just plug in photos and video clips, and it will arrange them the way it thinks is best. You do have some customization tools, but it's not really precise. But it's great for those who are overwhelmed or intimidated by video. You can really crank out some good videos with that. The Ripple app, RIPL, is another one. It only allows you to insert photos. But that's where the awesome thing about, if you've built up that photo library, you don't even have to touch video with this app, Ripple app, because it has these engaging animations that overlay on top of your photos, and you really don't have to know anything. It really does all the work for you. But then if you're interested in truly post-video production and making your videos sharp and doing like, tutorials or do-it-yourself videos or all of those high engagement type videos that we see on Facebook, you can absolutely do that. My recommendations for a full video editing app are Video Shop is one, InShot is another, and iMovie is definitely awesome, but the reason I mentioned Video Shop and InShot first is they allow you to do square and also vertical. And the new world of video is no longer horizontal or widescreen like we've been so used to. You really, really want to go square now, unless it's for YouTube or a course tutorial or something. There's really no other reason to not go square. You get more real estate on people in the feed, in people's feed. So Video Shop and InShot allow you to do square, and vertical is something that I'm obsessed with. It's not something typically that everybody needs to learn, but if you're into stories, Instagram stories, and now Facebook, if you have a Facebook page, you can also add stories, and these are vertical, 9:16 aspect ratio. So apps now are providing this, like Adobe Spark Post, the design app I just mentioned. They have a button and it's called Instagram Stories, and you touch that and it automatically resizes your image. So apps are making it so easy now to create post out to your stories if that's something you're interested in as well. So yeah, those are my suggestions, my very light suggestions. I have never counted, but I probably have like 200 or 300 apps. So the more you do this, the more you start using multiple apps to create videos, and it's called app smashing. But it's not necessary. It's just if you, something I find fun to do. You can really do so much now with individual apps, and there's just this whole new world now, really, with what you can do with apps and your photos and videos.
Dang, yeah, you're not kidding about that, because usually when you think of an app, at least I kind of think of, okay, if something's an app like a photo app or a video editing app, my first impression is that that's really dumbed down, that maybe there's only 3 or 4 things to tap on. But the way that you explained it here, it sounds like once we get used to these apps, like they can't do everything, but once we get the hang of using some of these apps, it seems like they've thought of a lot of stuff, and they've achieved that balance where we can really easily whip something up on the go, but then they have a lot of the extra goodies and the templates and the settings. So that way, if we were to use something like Photoshop, we'd have to look up all these sizes and dimensions and save all these different versions. So this is making a lot of sense as far as like these apps really save a lot of time and make it where we can crank out tons of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And they just keep adding on. It's very interesting because I started smartphone marketing school almost a year and a half ago, I guess. No, 2 years. And it's just crazy how the apps have developed since then. So that, definitely I have seen it because I was there at the beginning pretty much when this kind of exploded. They just keep adding on. And our phones, obviously the processors and everything are just getting more and more powerful so they can handle it. I remember when I first used iMovie a couple years ago, the app, I just gave up because it would keep closing out on me. And so I stuck with desktop. But now that's not the case. You can totally do a lot of things that are pretty advanced in these apps, and it's just a lot of fun because you can sit on the couch and do it. You can do it when you're waiting somewhere and don't have anything to do, and so you're just cranking it out on the go. And social media, it's very overwhelming trying to keep up, and my passion and motto is learn to do it on your phone, and you'll be able to keep up because you always have your phone with you, so you can instantly create things in seconds and push them out.
Yeah, it's like when you're on the phone, you're more in the mood to play around and experiment and see what happens. It feels less like work. And then if I'm doing video editing or things like that on the computer, I feel like, well, if I'm at the computer anyway, I might as well crank out 5 or 10 of these, and then I end up biting off more than I can chew. So I agree completely. Like, by getting started on the phone, that makes a lot of sense. And so you're mentioning all these great solutions and things like that. And so sometimes I've seen some of these videos where it's a video and then there's like text on the top or the bottom, and it just sort of stays still. It's not like a meme, but in video form. Is that in an app, or what are they using to create that?
So there may be one app that can create video memes. That's what you're referring to, correct?
Yeah.
So the way that I do it is there's an app, GIF Share, and it allows you to search for individual memes. And honestly, with GIF Share, there's a text tool as well. So you pick, I'm just looking at here, see what my last searches are. Brace yourselves. That was like something I searched for. So you search, you put in a line like that, and up will pop all these memes. You select one, you can add text right there and push it out. Now, I typically, because I am really big on branding and having my branding on everything, so I'll take that video, and then Video Shop, the app that I mentioned, I can have a photo on the base that has my branding and has the text. And then they have this tool called the Impose tool. Then I can put the video meme on top of my branded text photo image or whatever. And so that, and then I combine it that way. So, but that's more complicated, not necessary. Yeah, GIF share is definitely one that you can get some inspiration. Also create video memes really quick.
Awesome. So all kinds of content ideas, right? Like the GIF share, put together some videos, take the photos we have in Google Photos and put them together in a slideshow, all kinds of fun stuff. And you mentioned a couple times here that you have this thing called Smartphone Marketing School. And I'm sure that a lot of people listening, I'm sure that they're really excited about all the things that they realize they can now do on their phone, or maybe things that they used to do and forgot. And you listed all these great resources, but it's one thing to have just some ideas and some tips and some resources, but another to have kind of a step-by-step plan. So can you tell us about the sort of courses and offers you have for us, especially that Smartphone Marketing School?
Yes. So the course site that it's lifetime access. I don't do, that's just my model, my money model for that, because it's kind of a lot. If you want to go through it all, it would be a lot. And I want people, like if you're just wanting to work on photo, you can do that, blah, blah. So it's lifetime membership. You get access to the course site, which has 10 modules. You start off first just learning things that are really critical if you want to truly develop complex visuals on your phone. So that's working on storage. How are you going to transfer? What's your transfer method? How to just save time, create, text shortcuts and things like that. So the first module is about that. But then the remaining 9 starts you off first with photography, your setup, your accessories that you may want to make sure your photos are the best, then photo editing, then taking those photos and creating graphic designs. I have one module that's dedicated completely just to branding, how to get your brand colors, your logo. Make sure you have a folder that has all of these branding items that you will then use to layer into your designs. And so after that's graphic design, and then from there, script writing, and then video setup, which you would need for video setup and video editing. So the video editing one it's a little thorough, but it first starts off with, like, I call it Insta video apps, and that's where you can just learn how to make. The exciting thing now with video is it's really honestly about stopping people in their feed, grabbing their attention, and then getting them to click. So you don't need, back in the day, especially when I first started out, I felt like I had to have a 2-minute long video, explaining my product or my offer. And now that's not the case. You need something 15 seconds or less that stops people in their tracks, in their feed, and makes them go look at the description and see what you have there. So in the video editing portion, I talk about ways to do that with, I call them Insta video apps. And then I also share how you can truly create thorough videos that are fully edited, smooth. And these are great for people that are wanting to create, whether it's video tutorial videos, or you want to create videos that get engagement on Facebook, whether it's do it yourself or, top 5 things to blah, 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 or whatever. All of these things you can totally do with apps on your phone. So I share that. And then there's one about social media strategies, just how you can implement what you're doing on your phone on various social media platforms. So yeah, that's that's that. And then we also have a Facebook group, and it's very vibrant and lots of fun and support in there as well.
Well, great. And what I'm hearing from a lot of this is, like you said near the beginning of this, that you need to focus on the people. And I think a lot of people get too hung up on all the what ifs and all the choices and all the equipment they need to buy. And I don't know if you've seen stuff like that, but I get kind of frustrated when people say things like, well, you have to get all these cameras and get this arm that bolts onto it, and you have to paint a wall green screen color or paint a wall white. I'm just like, just show me how to use the app. Just show me how to do things with it. So it sounds like the way you've laid out this course is that we can all start simple no matter our skill level and get a few things knocked out and get some encouragement to try even more apps, and to, as we make more videos and more photos and more content, we just get better as we're doing it, as opposed to getting hung up in all the technical details.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I hope it's okay that I share, whenever viewers are listening to this, I have a lot of free content. And if my enrollment's not open, when you go to courses.tabithacarro.com, I have a free design challenge, which is gives you all these tutorials on how you can get those branding pieces onto your camera roll, so then you can use them in your designs. And I just have, there's a lot of free content there, and I am all about sharing and giving free content, because for most people, they don't realize that, oh, this is completely new. So I want people to be excited about it. They don't, whether they purchase or not, that what's important is that people see the light and they come on over to the couch hustler side, which is what a lot of us who are obsessed with this, we call ourselves couch hustlers. And because it's just great. It frees up time for you. It allows you to be doing things in a more comfortable, relaxed position as well. You can be holding your child in your lap while you're editing a photo. And not that I recommend, being on your phone when you're with your kids, but that would be better than being on a desktop where they're not even with you. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun as well. For those who it fits their personality, then it's really, really fun.
Super awesome. I love it. Yeah, and I love the idea of, if we only have a few minutes here and there, if it's on a commercial break or we're on a trip somewhere or waiting around or something, we can now grab our phone, do a few taps, and do something that builds our business. So super great. And so you mentioned that your course enrollment is not always open. So where can people go right now to find out if you're accepting people or not?
So if you go to tabithacarro.com, I always have a header that says SPMS membership. When you click on that, it'll let you know whether it's open or not. But also, if you just go to courses.tabithacarro.com, if enrollment's open, you'll see things that are paid. If enrollment's not open, you'll see things that are free. And if you sign up for those free things, you get subscribed to my weekly newsletter, weekly tips newsletter, and you'll also be notified whenever the next enrollment is coming up.
All right, super great. So everyone make sure to go there right now. That is TabithaCarro.com, TabithaCarro.com. And then the other link that you mentioned was courses.tabithacarro.com. So go there right now and see if it's open enrollment and you can join, or if it's closed enrollment, and then there'll be a way to get some free stuff and get on Tabitha's list. That way you'll be notified when those courses are back open again. So as we're winding things down here, Tabitha, is there anything that you'd wished that when you started with all this video stuff? Anything that you wish, like if you could send a message back in time to make things simpler or easier for you? Is there any kind of message you send?
Well, definitely Google Photos, because as soon as you give that app access, and you have to be careful because it will suck everything into its cloud. So you have to be careful, because we don't always want everything we take photos of somewhere out on the cloud somewhere. But I wish I'd known that, because it's once I started with that, it was like 2015. It's just amazing, like I said last night, to go back to 2-year-old photos and create brand new ads that look great. So I wish I'd known that. And I also wish I had learned more about design and branding, the aspects of branding, because honestly, I'm a teacher, and so all of this is new to me. But learning, and I have the free design challenge, which shares what I had learned over the past year or so, getting my hex color codes and learning how I could import fonts into specific apps. It's just been so helpful now to have consistent visual branding. Obviously, I'm just talking about visual aspects of branding into my designs, Whereas when I first started out, it's kind of like all over the place. And those are not really things I can use now but you just get better. You just practice and practice. So I don't know if I would tell myself that because, it's just, you're just learning and developing. But it would have been nice to have started off getting the visual branding on point because, then I could use older designs. But I've learned it now and continue to learn. And so, yeah.
And that's a good point that you bring up there about at least, even if we don't need to become like designers ourselves, but at least to pay attention to some of that typography stuff. And like, if I see a cool image on Instagram, like, okay, well, I recognize that font that they use, and they use that gradient and that color scheme, but I noticed like a little thing to do with the drop shadow or like the kerning and the letters and things like that. And that's all stuff that like, if I just hadn't gone and read a couple of articles or known a couple of those concepts, I wouldn't even know what I was looking at, and I wouldn't even know what made the photo look so slick, and I wouldn't know what to apply in the settings when making my own images. But so that's a good point in there of like, we don't have to get too far down the rabbit hole, but at least being aware of some of those design things and like the colors and knowing how to grab, like you said, like the hex code, how to like grab a color off an eyedropper, things like that. Even though like we don't need to know a ton, but just enough to be dangerous. So, I mean, so great stuff.
Yeah.
So everyone call right now to TabithaCarro.com and check out that smartphone marketing school if it's open. Otherwise, sign up for some free stuff. So TabithaCarro.com, and we'll see you there. And thanks so much, Tabitha, for stopping by and sharing all kinds of great stuff. I mean, all kinds of app recommendations and things to buy and resources. I'm going to have to load up the Amazon cart right now. So lots of great stuff.
Awesome. And thank you, Robert, so much. I totally enjoyed talking about all this with you.
We really appreciate you listening to today's episode of Marketer of the Day. Subscribe to us on iTunes and rate and review us at marketeroftheday.com/